Yo, what up guys, I'm Sammy and welcome back to the Soul Drop, and this is my performance review of the EQLZ 24/7. So EQLZ is short for Equalizer, and they are a brand new hoop shoe company, which is great. And Aaron Cooper is one of the owners of that shoe company. He's like a legendary Nike designer, and he actually designed this shoe as well. So the 24/7 retails for 150 bucks. It's available in this white colorway, like all white, and also all black colorway as well. So if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave a link in the description box. But let's get it started right off with the Traction. So I love how the Traction looks. It's a really cool design. It is inspired by it's inspired by three things, right? So we can see these nubs, which is inspired by shark skin, which is pretty dope. And also around that, it's inspired by the laminar flow of water. You know what I mean? It's just kind of like these very thin lines. And also we can see kind of like a foot. It's a pressure map of the foot, which is pretty dope. Kind of inspired by the Kobe 9, I guess. But yeah, how is the Traction? The Traction is freaking phenomenal. It surprised the hell out of me, you know what I mean? It's a very, very consistent bite, which I like. I wouldn't say it's the hardest stop that you can get right now, like a really hard stop, you know, from a Traction, for example, is like the AR1, the Big 3 5.0 Quick, and the Quick Pro, Player 1 Plus. Those have harder stops, but it still has a really nice stop, right? So if you're playing on a clean court, amazing. Also, it picks up very minimal dust. Like, I really never wiped in this shoe. I don't remember wiping, and if it was really dusty and I was having problems with my other shoes, I was just picking up a lot of dust, I just did a very easy slight wipe and I was good to go. And I feel like that has to do with the shark skin, like with these nubs, maybe this like concave pattern to it, you know, it kind of caves in, as you guys can see, right, with these nubs. Maybe that kind of like helps with the bite, you know, and biting through dust. It just moves really well with your foot too. So yeah, I mean, dust performance is really, really nice. Outdoor use, however, I don't think it would be the best. You know, we have these nubs, and also like it's just really soft in this area, like where the laminar flow of water design is, you know, with these lines, very thin lines. It doesn't look very durable. So probably not the best for outdoor use, but if you're playing on an indoor court, amazing Traction, very consistent as well through most surfaces. And also it has a nice little squeak as well. It's pretty loud too. Of course, squeak has nothing to do with performance, but you know, most hoopers, we like to have a nice loud high-pitched squeak. Yeah, amazing Traction, and that surprised me. So there's that. Moving on to the heel to toe transition, also pretty dang smooth, right? So here in the heel, we got this nice curved shape, and also the midsole is kind of exposed, you know what I mean? So coming from the heel, feels pretty dang smooth, and then coming into the forefoot, we got a nice rocker shape, and then we have a good amount of forefoot flex, you know what I mean? It's not super easy to flex, but you know, it's not super hard either. I would say it's around average, you know? So that feels nice, and it has a nice little rebound back too. So overall, heel to toe transition does feel pretty dang nice. Now moving on to the cushioning setup, I really like the cushioning setup, but there's one thing I don't like about it, which is the court feel, right? So you do feel pretty high up off the ground. There definitely does seem to be a pretty high offset too. You know, the heel is pretty high up off the ground. The forefoot is a little bit lower to the ground. So overall court feel, not the greatest, especially since I was switching from shoe to shoe while playing the shoe, you know what I mean? So for example, I was switching from like the Player 1 Plus, the Big 3 5.0 Quick, which have really good court feel. And switching to this, you know, the heel, I definitely felt a little bit higher up off the ground. But on days where I was just mainly testing these shoes out, you know, obviously, you know, you get used to it. So not a huge deal, and I wouldn't say it's like terrible for court feel either way. You know, like for example, old school LeBrons, which were super high up off the ground. So it's not terrible for court feel, but it's just like higher than average, you know? But overall impact protection is really nice, especially if you're doing heel strikes. There's a nice little compression from the actual heel, and since they are using a P-Bax foam, it's actually pretty dang nice for step and comfort, right? Underfoot cushioning is pretty dang nice, especially here in the heel. Once you get going, you get a nice little bounce and nice little compression from the heel as well, which is surprising because when you look at the insole is first of all not super nice. There's a little bit of give to it, but underneath that, when you look at the actual stroke board, it does seem like a stiffer stroke board, but once you break it in, it does get a little bit bouncy. So the overall cushioning setup is pretty dang nice, just not the best for court feel. And now moving on to the upper. So the upper quality is really nice, you know what I mean? So they are using knit and also a full grain leather, I believe it was. The leather quality doesn't seem like the best for me, but I mean, for 150 bucks, you get a really nice knit upper, and knit is pretty hard to come by in modern day hoop shoes, you know what I mean? Knit was very popular like what, like 10 years ago. Oh my goodness, 10 years ago. Remember Flyknit and Primeknit, you know? But I feel like brands have kind of like moved away from that. They're more like using fused materials, mesh, textile, you know? But yeah, this is really nice quality, you know what I mean? And look at this. It's broken in, it's really, really soft, and it's not glued down, so it doesn't feel stiff or flimsy at all either. So here in the toe box, it's really nice, it's comfortable, conforms to your foot very well. Also, going around the entire perimeter of the upper, we got this full grain leather, right? So that improves the overall support as well, and also the durability if you do toe drags here in the toe box too. And also, this is pretty much a one booty upper. The laces go through these eyelets, so it doesn't actually go through the upper, but we have this kind of like knit collar, which is really stretchy, and it's not even that hard to put it on. You know, once you break it in, it gets easier to put on, but it's not that hard to put on. Just stretch it out like a lot, and it just slides your foot in, kind of like a sock, which feels great. And also, on top of your foot, where the tongue's supposed to be, we have a stretching material as well. So that kind of stretches over your foot. It feels really nice. It feels like a sock. It improves lockdown too. So yeah, the overall material is great. Yeah, and I really like how this is pretty much the only shoe. I'm trying to look around. I don't think any other shoe uses like a full-on knit material like this. You know what I mean? The only shoe that I can think about is like the Harden Volume 8 and the Harden Volume 7 with like that knit booty. You know what I mean? But that's underneath the actual shell upper. This is just full on knit, you know what I mean? So I really like this. Quality is great. It feels nice on foot. So there's that. And now moving on to the fit. So if you do go true to size, just be careful with that. It is also a little bit roomy, which I don't like. And also the width, I would say it's like slightly wide as well. So yeah, that kind of sucks. So if you do go true to size, just be careful with that. It's gonna be a little bit roomy. So maybe go down half a size. It just gets kind of roomy here in the toe box. And as you guys can see with this knit material as well, once you break it in, it does stretch out a little bit and the toe box gets roomier. So just be careful with that. I definitely wish they made the toe box a little bit tighter in my personal opinion, just because I like a tighter fit for my hoop shoes, right? So if you want to be safe, you know, go true to size, but it will be a little bit roomy in the toe box. But if you wanted a pretty snug fit, then go down half a size, but just be careful with that for the length, right? So there is the fit there. Moving on to the support and lockdown. Support and lockdown was great, right? So for lateral containment, I was good to go. As you guys can see, we have this the crazy foam coming up acting as a sidewall, and also this plastic piece, but that's also on the medial side with the plastic, right? And that acts as a sidewall here in the forefoot, and also the leather material comes up acting as a sidewall too, which is great. It stiffens up the material overall too. So my foot did not come out of the footbed at all, and we also have a crazy amount of the foam coming up here in the heel. So yeah, I mean, even if you're a bigger dude, your foot is not coming out of the footbed. I was good to go. One thing though is that the roomier fit here in the toe box, like my forefoot was moving around inside of the shoe a little bit when I was doing harder lateral moves. So, I mean, that has nothing to do with the overall support of the shoe. That's just the fit is loose. So just be careful with that. And also, I had no issues with heel slippage or anything like that, you know, especially with this knit collar. That really helps lock down your heel into the shoe, which feels great. And overall, lateral stability was really good too. The foam does protrude out here in the forefoot a good amount. We got a wide base. So lateral stability was good here in the forefoot. However, here in the heel, you guys see this rounded shape? You know what I mean? It is rounded here a good amount. So when I was kind of like doing heel dominant strides, it kind of felt like it was rolling over just a tiny bit. It wasn't a terrible issue or anything, and I never rolled my ankle in the shoe. It just didn't feel super stable in the heel, you know what I mean? But when I was playing in the forefoot, I was good to go, you know what I mean? Just, you know, like I said, when I was doing heel dominant strides, it kind of felt like it wanted to roll over just a tiny bit. So just be careful with that. But overall, I feel like most people will be fine, you know? So there is the support and lockdown there. Moving on to the weight of the shoe, right? If I remember correctly, it was like a little bit heavier than average, I think, right? Yeah, 13.45 ounces. Let's check the other shoe. Yeah, 13.65 ounces. So the average weight of my shoes is around 12.5 ounces. So this shoe is definitely not light. And also it feels a little bit bulky because of the midsole, right? It's protruding out a good amount. And also with this plastic material, the upper is really, really minimal. There's really no padding, right? There is like a little Achilles pad, you know what I mean? It's not super well padded even. It's just, it kind of helps with the lockdown a little bit. So this shoe definitely does feel a little bit bottom heavy and also a little bit bulky here in the heel, which they could easily fix for their next shoe, right? In my personal opinion, I mean, you don't need this plastic piece on the medial side. You know what I mean? I don't really think you do. So maybe just remove this and it'll shed off a little bit of the weight. And also maybe make this like the foam not as bulged out. You know what I mean? But again, you know, like an ounce heavier than the average, not super heavy. And also this shoe is really responsive. You know, the traction's great. The cushion overall is responsive as well. It adds a nice little bounce in the heel. Supporting lockdown is good. So when I was playing this shoe, I felt really quick, but also this shoe is like really comfortable too. So a lot of shoes don't feel like that. You know, usually if you want to feel quick, it's a really responsive shoe. Like the cushion's stiffer, the upper is really minimal and stuff like that. But the upper is really comfortable with this shoe, and also the cushion's like it has a nice little compression too. So this shoe is really fun and nice to play in. And now moving on to the ventilation. Ventilation is pretty good. Like through like this part, there are some ventilation holes, right? But through the actual knit upper, like here in the toe box, not a whole lot of airflow. You know what I mean? But overall, it is a thin material. So it doesn't keep in heat that well. So overall, the 24/7 is a pretty cool shoe. Now moving on to the aesthetics, I really like it. It grew on me a lot. This triple white colorway looks great. The triple black colorway looks great as well. And the overall design looks great too. You know what I mean? It looks, it's a very simple design, but also still looks unique. So tell us what you guys think of the aesthetics down in the comment section below. So wrapping things up, yes, this was a pleasant surprise. This is actually a really nice and fun shoe to play in. And it reminds me of like old school shoes like the Hyperdunk 2016 Elite. You guys remember that shoe with the full-on knit? That's what it reminds me of. And I definitely feel like companies need to bring back a nice knit uppers like this. You know what I mean? I do like mesh materials, but I kind of want something a little bit different. You know what I mean? I feel like a lot of shoe companies are doing kind of like the same thing. So they're doing something a little bit different here, you know, in terms of design. The traction is really nice. So I definitely feel like, you know, most people will enjoy the shoe. If you're a guard, I mean, it's not the most minimal feeling shoe, but it's responsive. You know what I mean? It's comfortable. You're going to feel quick playing in this shoe, but also really comfortable. You know what I mean? It kind of feels like you're playing in like clouds a little bit, like a marshmallow, but you also don't feel like slow, which is nice, you know. Also, if you're a bigger dude, support's adequate, the cushion's great. So I feel like most people will enjoy this shoe. You know, the only thing I feel like they can improve on is the fit and also like the bulkiness in the heel, but that wasn't a huge deal, you know. But anyways, that about concludes my performance review of the EQLZ 24/7. Again, if you guys do want to cop, I'll try to leave a link in the description box, but that's it. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.